doesn't God just kill the devil? If God is all-powerful and good, why allow evil to persist in the world? It's a question many have pondered throughout history. Today, we'll explore this deeply, drawing from the Bible, history, and theology to better understand the devil's role and why God permits him to exist. The answer might be more profound than you think. To answer this question, we must go back to the beginning, to the creation of Lucifer. The devil was not always evil. In fact, Lucifer was originally one of God's most magnificent creations. He was an angel, a light-bearer, according to the meaning of his name. Ezekiel 28:12-15 paints a striking picture of Lucifer's initial glory, saying, "You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God." He was given authority and power as a guardian cherub. Imagine the splendor and beauty of such a being, designed for greatness. But something changed. Despite his beauty, power, and wisdom, Lucifer's heart became filled with pride. Isaiah 14:12-14 records his prideful thoughts. "How you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn. You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens, I will raise my throne above the stars of God." Lucifer's ambition to exalt himself above God was his downfall. His desire for power and autonomy led to rebellion. Lucifer, now known as Satan, was cast out of heaven along with the angels who followed him. This fall didn't just mark a personal failure, but introduced the concept of rebellion into creation. This event serves as a powerful reminder of the dangers of pride and disobedience to God. Now, knowing Lucifer's fall, a natural question arises. Why doesn't God just destroy the devil? If God is all-powerful, why not eliminate him and rid the world of evil? The first thing to remember is that the devil, though fallen, was created by God with free will. Just like humans, angels were created with the ability to choose. God didn't create Satan to be evil. He created him perfect, and Satan chose rebellion. God allows free will because without it, there can be no true love or genuine obedience. Without the choice to reject God, there would be no meaning in choosing to follow him. This principle applies not only to angels, but to all of us. But there's more to this story. The devil's continued existence serves a purpose in God's plan. One of the greatest ways to understand goodness is by confronting evil. Think about it. Without darkness, we wouldn't appreciate the light. Without suffering, we might not fully grasp the meaning of joy. James 1:2-4 encourages us to view challenges in this way. "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." The presence of evil allows us to grow spiritually, to strengthen our faith, and to build character. In fact, many biblical heroes faced evil and hardship that strengthened them. Look at Job, who faced intense suffering but remained faithful. Or Joseph, who was sold into slavery yet eventually rose to save his people. Each of these stories shows that God can use even the presence of evil for a greater good. It might seem paradoxical, but the devil's role in tempting us is actually part of God's method of refining us. Temptation, when resisted, leads to spiritual growth. As James 1:13-14 explains, when tempted, no one should say, "God is tempting me." For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone, but each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. God allows Satan to tempt us, not because he wants us to fall, but because overcoming temptation strengthens us. Think of it like a muscle. Muscles grow through resistance. Without resistance, they stay weak. In the same way, our spiritual muscles grow when we resist evil. This is why the Bible tells us in Ephesians 6:11 to put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. Satan's role in our lives is part of a much larger spiritual battle. Ephesians 6:12 reminds us that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. God has allowed Satan to operate for a time, but it's important to understand that his power is limited and temporary. God uses the presence of Satan and evil forces to test and refine his people. Just as soldiers train and prepare for battle, we must be spiritually prepared to face the devil's schemes. Remember, the devil's influence is strongest when we are unaware or unprepared. But God has given us everything we need to overcome. In 1 Peter 5:8-9, we are warned to be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy the devil prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Resist him, standing firm in the faith. The presence of Satan also brings suffering, but God often uses suffering to fulfill his purposes. Romans 5 verse 3-4 says, "We also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope." While the devil's influence may cause pain and difficulty, God can use even these trials for our ultimate good. Romans 8:28 tells us that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. This doesn't mean God causes evil, but it does mean that no matter what happens, he can bring good out of even the worst situations. Think about Jesus himself. He faced the ultimate evil, death on a cross, orchestrated in part by Satan. But through that suffering came the greatest victory of all, salvation for mankind. What Satan meant for destruction, God used for redemption. Finally, we must remember that the devil's fate is already sealed. Revelation 20:10 tells us, "The devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of burning sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet had been thrown. They will be tormented day and night forever and ever." God's justice will ultimately prevail. The devil's reign of terror is temporary. Though he may cause trouble now, his end is certain. God's victory is inevitable. So why doesn't God just kill the devil now? Because Satan's existence serves a purpose in God's greater plan. Through his temptations and trials, we grow stronger, and through our resistance, we become more like Christ. And in the end, the devil will be defeated once and for all. So while it might seem that destroying the devil would solve the problem of evil, God's wisdom is far greater than ours. The devil serves a purpose in the spiritual growth of humanity, and his existence reminds us of the importance of free will, faith, and perseverance. And in the end, we can take comfort knowing that God will have the final word.
If you like our content, please consider subscribing. Click the like button and the bell icon if you want to know when we post a new video. Stay blessed, and thank you for watching.